Hey everybody, Josh Collacchi here with RotoCurve, and it's week 2 in the NFL. It's the second week of the season. Saw a massive first week with all those huge scores on FanDuel. Of course, somebody took down the big contest there, $1 million on FanDuel, but we're going to see that again. So let's get into some quarterback picks that can help you win a little bit of money and maybe give you a chance to win $1 million over on FanDuel. Now, I like to break down my quarterbacks into a few tiers. We have tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. And every now and then there's a punt option. But like last week, the punt option was Tyrod Taylor at just $5,000 for the Buffalo Bills. But this week, with the pricing a little bit tighter after 1 week of games, there's not really a punt option. But there are 3 different tiers of quarterbacks I wanted to talk about. Now, that first tier, the top guy that I'm looking at for week 2, is Drew Brees against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Last week, we saw the Buccaneers give up 4 touchdown passes in the first half to Marcus Mariota in his first NFL start. Now, not taking anything away from Mariota, who looked incredible, but that defense was just ripped to shreds. They really had nothing to defend, and the Tennessee Titans receivers are really nothing to just kind of be wowed about. And that's the one thing about the New Orleans Saints that they do have with Drew Brees. They have a lot of weapons. They have guys like Brandon Cooks. Brandon Coleman looked very good last week. Of course, they have guys that had the backfield like Mark Ingram, who had 8 catches, and Kyrie Robinson caught the ball a lot as well. So one thing to look about with the Saints is they do throw the ball a lot. Last week, Drew Brees had 48 passing attempts for 355 yards and a touchdown. And considering the fact that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers got shredded last week, I think the fact that Brees has that matchup and is a very high volume passer makes him for a top tier option in cash and even in tournaments plays if you wanted to spend up a quarterback. The other top-tier quarterback I wanted to mention is he probably would have been my number 1 quarterback had it not been an injury to his number 1 receiver in Dez Bryant, and you guessed it, it's Tony Romo. Romo faces the Eagles in the first big divisional matchup of the season. And, of course, losing Dez Bryant hurts. Losing DeMarco Murray last year hurts. But the one thing about Romo is he really just tends to find whoever's open and just go all the way down the field. You saw him do that in the final minutes against the New York Giants on Sunday Night Football in week 1, and he has a chance to do that in week 2 against the Eagles. Now, that secondary looked really bad against Julio Jones, but it did cover everyone else. Now, Julio Jones is one of the best, if not the best mismatch in the entire NFL, and the Cowboys don't have that, especially with Dez Bryant out. But considering the fact that Jason Witten's been open, they have guys like Cole Beasley working in the slot, and actually like some guys like Devin Street on the outside as well. The Cowboys do have some weapons that can possibly give the Eagles some fits, and the quarterback behind all that is Tony Romo, who I think is going to be throwing the ball a lot. And against a defense that struggles to defend the pass, it's going to give him a lot of opportunity to score a lot of fantasy points. The second tier starts off with a guy who's in the same division as Tony Romo, and that's Eli Manning. Now, of course, we saw that blunder last week as he ended up losing the game to the Dallas Cowboys by not taking the sack, throwing the ball out of bounds, and allegedly telling Rashad Jennings not to score as he thought the Dallas Cowboys had one more timeout. Now, for this week, for week 2, he faces the Falcons, who gave up a lot of yards to the Eagles on Monday night. Sam Bradford had over 330 yards. He threw a touchdown pass. He had another touchdown pass, but that pass wasn't reviewed. It was a touchdown from Bradford to Jordan Matthews. And that Falcons secondary really did not look very good. Now, the Eagles have some good weapons like Matthews, like Ertz. Nelson Aguilar is a rookie. Didn't show too much in the first game, but he has some talent. But Eli gets to throw to one of the better talents in the NFL, and that's Odell Beckham Jr. Of course, he's probably by himself right now because Victor Cruz is hurt. The other guys like Preston Parker really aren't living up to it. But considering that he's going to be one of the top options for Eli to throw to, it makes for a nice option to kind of go with as a second-tier quarterback in Eli Manning, simply because he has the ability to throw the ball 40 or 50 times in a high-scoring game, which it could be against the Falcons in week 2. And he has a good matchup against those Falcons, who tend to struggle in defending the pass. The other second-tier quarterback I wanted to discuss was Carson Palmer. I like a lot of Cardinals in week 2 against the Bears, simply because that defense is really been bad for a little while, especially in week 1. I know there were a few plays where linebacker Shea McClellan just kind of looked lost in defending the middle of the field, and that's exactly where Carson Palmer likes to work. Whether it's crossing routes to Larry Fitzgerald or underneath routes to John Brown, or even dumping the ball off to what could be David Johnson or Chris Johnson. I think Palmer has a lot of weapons to work with, and facing the Chicago Bears definitely gives him a top-tier matchup to build on that week 1 where he threw 3 touchdowns. So Palmer's back, he's healthy, and he has a lot of options to throw to. And at just 7,800 on FanDuel, he makes for a very nice option for your lineups. And that third tier of quarterbacks is a guy that it couldn't necessarily be considered a punt play, but I don't think his price is that low, like a Tyrod Taylor last week at 5,000. But that last quarterback I wanted to discuss was Nick Foles. St. Louis Rams at just 6,500. Foles is going to be an industry favorite in week 2 because he faces the Washington Redskins secondary, who is absolutely wretched. Now, they do get Bashaud Breeland back, and he's a very good cornerback. It's very good size and speed. But the one thing is he can't cover everybody. They still have D'Angelo Hall. They still have Justin Rogers. They have some guys that really struggle to cover. And Foles last week threw for 300 yards against the Seattle Seahawks defense, so it's really telling. Now, the fact is that the one thing about Nick Foles is he's always been a guy that's very good when he has protection. Now, when he's under pressure, he struggles. We saw that with the Eagles. We saw that last week when he had 2 fumbles for the Rams against the Seahawks. But against the Redskins, who struggle to get some pressure, if Foles has a lot of time, he's going to be able to find those weapons downfield. And it makes for a very nice play at a guy that costs close to $3,000 less than those top options. That wraps up our quarterback segment for this week, and be sure to check out all the rest of the tools over at RotoCurve, and we'll be detailing running backs, receivers, tight ends, all kinds of stuff you can use on the site to help you win money for week 2. So let's hopefully get our lineup set and make some money for week 2, continue to make the NFL season a profitable one. Good luck, everybody.